Hi guys. I'm gonna do uh, a couple more. I think this will be. I'll have one more, then I'm gonna move on to a more positive talk, just because I want to get this stuff out of the way. One of the things with uh, I just kind of want to do this concerning the witches Black Lent conversation. As witches, we don't necessarily believe in the concept of sin, but I guess, whether, with this hashtag, that beanbag hagwag and my fellow Hoosier Jasmine had started, um, I guess sometimes though you have to use like terms that that the majority of people can understand. But as witches, we kind of have a thing about the word sin. Um, but here, sin is defined as an immoral act considered to be a transgression against divine law, um, sin in the eyes of God. Well, those of us that work with deity, um, so it would actually be a transgression, because some deities have things. Those of us that work with Santo Muerte, um, doing, I'm just going to say it this way, having sex in front of her altar or with her altar in the same room, unless you cover it with a sheet, would be considered a transgression. Um, People that uh, would sacrifice a dog in the name of Hecate, when Hecate works with dogs, that's considered a transgression. As witches, if we do something that is harmful to the earth, that would be considered a transgression. Um, but I do kind of have an issue with the fact that there are that judgment and hypocrisy are not in the realm when it comes to sins, even though there's 7 heavenly virtues, um, 7, seven main points when it comes to chakras. So it seems to me with spirituality, the number 7 is kind of prevalent. But I think the point that was trying to be made is that the 7 transgressions are the complete opposite of the virtues. Lust being the opposite of chastity, whichever. Uh, uh, so every virtue would have the opposite. So basically 7 coins, and sin being on one side of the coin and a virtue being on the other. I'm just going to say transgression. So I do want to kind of address judgment and hypocrisy. And as I said, to me, I don't understand with as many Bible verses, and I'll try to link these as there are. And I will link these in the description box, as many Bible verses as there are concerning judgment and hypocrisy. Matthew 7:1 verse 29. Judge not that you be judged, for with the judgment you pronounce you will be judged, and with the measure of use it will be measured to you. Why do you see um, the speck that is your brother's eye, but do not notice the log that is in your own eye? James 2:13. For judgment is without mercy to one who has shown no mercy. Mercy triumphs over judgment. Corinthians 5:10. I'm trying to go through the short ones. Romans 14:12 verse 13. Matthew 12:36. I tell you, on the day of judgment, people will give account for every careless word they speak. Now, as pagans, we we don't necessarily believe in the concept of heaven or hell, but with Native Americans, it is believed that you are basically to cross the bridge to the other side, and the animals decide whether or not you're worthy. Within the Greek pantheon, there's the concept of Hades. So even though there's not necessarily a concept of heaven or hell, at some point when your life has ended, you do have to be faced with the transgressions that you have committed against people. And to me, assumptions on people is the same thing as judgment, in my opinion. Because you didn't like what someone said and you are under the assumption, and my dad used to say, ass is the first part of assumption. But, so let's get back to the point. Matthew 12:37. For your words you will be justified, and by your words you will be condemned. So, and as like I said, I'm going to link these in the description box or in the comment section. But we are all in some form, we all do judge, and we are all guilty to some degree of hypocrisy, whether we realize it or not. I was having a conversation with Lady Adara, and Lady Adara had asked me, if you started hanging out with somebody, and I'm kind of paraphrasing, and you went over to their house, and they picked up a needle and shot up right there in front of you. And you decided to walk away, are you judging? And my response to her was no, because the behavior is the addiction, not necessarily the person, and you're dealing with the addiction. But I would walk away just because the addiction is a negative aspect, or an issue with negativity, and that's something that I could not be around. But too much of anything isn't good for you. You can have an addiction to chocolate, you can have an addiction to coffee, you can have an addiction to just smoking cigarettes. So I'm going on here to hypocrisy. Matthew 7:5. You're hypocrite. First take the log out of your own eye, and then you will see clearly to take the speck out of your brother's eye. James 1:26. If anyone thinks he is religious and does not bite his tongue, but deceives his heart, this person's religion is worthless. There are some of, with these virtues and transgressions, they don't necessarily apply to Christianity. Because I know, there's a lot of these, that would be the same no matter what religion you practiced. If you're kind, if you're too kind, then that means that you become a doormat and people walk all over you. If you're too gluttonous, well, that can affect your health in a lot of different ways. Whether it's a transgression or a virtue, yes, identifying your transgressions can be a good thing when you want to sit and examine them and see how those, make that transgression a good thing by doing a thing called shadow work and examining that. So in a way, I kind of support what the ladies, I can see why some people wouldn't necessarily agree, but I can also see how it's a good thing. because Zipporah, conversations about God, and even though I can't remember the direct pages and quotes, but she had talked about Plato and his speeches to society, and I can't look it up right now, and that Plato had originally started these first, this whole, thing with, what is morally acceptable, and then other things were added. So it had originally started with Plato, and it was, in fact, originally like a pagan concept. I do kind of see, I mean, with considering the fact that I've seen a lot of people who are starting with witchcraft, who were in the church, who had, been through religious trauma and things like that, how, how, using these terms, I've only been practicing for like 7-8 years, but, I did attend, church, and I do kind of want to touch on the fact of, and only because it was brought up in the live stream, and I will link the live stream, concerning this challenge with Beanbag Hagwag and Jasmine. And I'm only bringing this up because blasphemy had been brought up, and I'm going to show a picture of Mr. Locke, basically conducting baptisms in the name of Trump, because instead of going somewhere else, he is making it a point to baptize these people right in front of a Trump sign. So I guess that would also, considering, all the misinformation and misspeak that he's given out, that's also a judgment, also blasphemy, and also bearing false witness against his neighbor. And, whether you're pagan or Christian, we're all guilty of these transgressions. So, I'm going to do yet another really quick video. And, I don't want to focus on the negative, but I want to get all of this out of my system so I can kind of focus on more positive, uplifting, funny, type of things. But, these were just, even though I kind of started out as a kid as an atheist, and yeah, I did also have my own issues with religious trauma, that, someone who wasn't necessarily as a child necessarily brought up within the church, but I just fail to understand, and you can call me ignorant if you choose, that's totally fine with me. Which probably one of the sins that I would select is pride, because I think I give a shit too much about what people think. And what people think of me is their problem, not mine. Quote from Phoenix Fire. But I just fail to understand why hypocrisy and judgment were not added to these 7 deadly sins. So, I want to use the term transgressions, because, even with paganism, there's transgressions, but, that's kind of the point that I wanted to make. So, peace, love, and light, guys, and thanks a lot for listening, and please like, comment, and subscribe.